Picture this. You're sitting on the floor back against the couch crying, maybe after a hard day, a breakup, or just one of those moments where everything feels like too much. And then out of nowhere, your dog is there. He wasn't in the room a second ago. He crosses the floor quietly, presses his body against yours and just stays, no barking, no playing, just presence. You probably smiled through the tears and thought, he just knows. But here's the part nobody talks about. He didn't just know. What he did is far more precise and far more extraordinary than simple instinct, because science has now confirmed that what happens inside your dog's brain in that exact moment is something that took millions of years of evolution to build, and it was built specifically for you. Most people assume dogs respond to crying because they're loyal, or because they've been trained to seek human attention, or maybe because they just want to be close to the person who feeds them. And sure, loyalty is real, the bond is real, but that explanation skips over something much more complex. It treats your dog like a creature reacting to noise, when in reality, he's doing something closer to what a therapist does in a session. He's reading you, not just your sound, your body language, your breath, your scent, and the specific emotional signal underneath all of it. The real question isn't why he came to you, it's how he knew to come at all, and what that tells us about the kind of intelligence dogs actually have. Researchers at the University of London, in a study published in Animal Cognition, tested exactly this. They exposed dogs to people who were either humming, talking normally, or crying, both strangers and their own owners. The result was striking. Dogs approached crying individuals far more often, and they did so with a specific body posture, low, slow, submissive, that they didn't use in any other situation. They weren't reacting to distress, they were responding to it. There's a difference. At Emory University, neuroscientist Gregory Burns ran MRI scans on awake, trained dogs, the first of their kind, to map what actually activates in a dog's brain during human emotional cues. What he found rewrote a lot of assumptions. The caudate nucleus, a region associated with reward and positive anticipation in humans, lit up in dogs when they smelled or heard their owners, even with no treat involved, no command, no stimulus other than the person themselves. That's not conditioning, that's attachment. Here's what's actually happening when you cry and your dog enters the room. Dogs have an olfactory system roughly 40 times more sensitive than ours. When a human cries, truly cries, not just tears from yawning, the body releases a cocktail of stress hormones, including cortisol and adrenaline, that are detectable in breath, sweat, and tears. Your dog smells the shift in your biochemistry before he hears the sound. He knows something has changed in you before you've made a single noise. Then come the visual cues, a collapsed posture, a lowered head, shoulders turned inward. Dogs are extraordinarily sensitive to human body language. Research shows they're better at reading human facial expressions than chimpanzees are, which is remarkable given that chimps share 98% of our DNA. Dogs don't, and yet they beat them at reading us. Imagine Freud sitting across the room while Theo works late, looking fine on the surface, but Freud's head lifts. He watches. Theo's shoulders drop a little, his jaw tightens, and his breathing changes. Freud is already moving before Theo puts his face in his hands. This isn't magic. This is millions of years of coevolution, a process that began when early wolves started orbiting human camps, and natural selection slowly, generation by generation, favored the wolves that were best at reading human emotional states. The ones who could tell when a human was distressed, calm, or threatening survived. The ones who couldn't, didn't. We didn't just domesticate dogs, we shaped them neurologically and behaviorally to understand us. Now here's the part that tends to stop people cold. A 2018 study from the University of Lincoln and the University of São Paulo found something that researchers had long debated. Dogs don't just detect human emotions. They experience a form of emotional contagion, the same phenomenon that makes you tear up when you see someone else cry. When dogs are exposed to the sounds and smells of human distress, their cortisol levels rise, their heart rate shifts. They display behavioral markers of stress and concern. Your dog isn't observing your pain from the outside. He's absorbing some version of it. And the most remarkable part? This response is stronger with the owner than with strangers. Dogs show measurably higher physiological arousal when their person is the one in distress. They're not just empathetic creatures in general. They're specifically tuned to you. Your stress is their stress. Your grief lands in their nervous system too. Think about what that means. In a world where we often feel unseen, where we hide how we feel, perform composure, push through, there is a creature living in your home who cannot be fooled, who doesn't need you to explain yourself. who simply detects the truth of how you're doing and moves toward you anyway. That's not a small thing. The bond between humans and dogs isn't just ancient. It's biological. It's written into both of our nervous systems. We changed them. And somewhere along the way, they changed us too. Gave us creatures capable of offering a kind of wordless, unconditional presence that human relationships, for all their richness, rarely replicate. So what does this mean for you and your dog, practically speaking? Pay attention to when your dog seeks you out without a clear reason. No leash, no food bowl, no toy. He simply comes to where you are and settles near you. That's often not random. That's him reading a signal in your body chemistry that you might not have consciously registered yet. And if your dog tends to press against you, full body contact, not just sitting nearby, that physical pressure has a calming function that goes both ways. Research on deep pressure stimulation shows it reduces cortisol in humans. Your dog's instinct to make physical contact when you're distressed isn't just emotionally comforting. It's physiologically regulating. He's not just keeping you company. He's helping to bring you back to baseline. We spend a lot of time wondering what our dogs are thinking, whether they truly love us, whether any of it is real or just behavior shaped by food and routine. But the science keeps pointing to the same answer. The relationship between humans and dogs is one of the most extraordinary interspecies bonds ever formed on this planet. It's not simple, it's not one-sided, and it didn't happen by accident. The next time your dog crosses a room to be with you in a quiet moment, when you haven't called him, when you haven't moved, remember that he detected something in you, and he chose to be there anyway. That's not instinct. That's devotion refined over 10,000 years. Has your dog ever come to you exactly when you needed it most, even though you hadn't said a word? Tell me about it in the comments. I'd love to read your story. And if you want to keep exploring the science behind what your pet actually thinks and feels, subscribe, because there's a lot more we haven't talked about yet.